This is part 2 of Women per Excellence. Today's theme is around education and empowerment. But I think we've segued into so many parts of it. And we are still yet to look at a lot of aspects when it comes to just that, education and empowerment. So in part 1, we were looking at the aspects of mental health in the different fields of both education and leadership. We had Joyce give us a great definition into how exactly we can tackle it in the education sector, but now how do we do that in the leadership
mental health? Mental health is something very critical in the workplace, but it's become such a buzzword that we are not very clear when it's performance and when it's mental health.
Right.
Because a lot of young people are using, I ask for results, you tell me I'm becoming toxic and it's no longer a mental health safe space, you know?
Right.
But there is clearly a need for more conversations about mental wellness in the workplaces. And it takes a lot of courage for the leader. And as I told you in the beginning, that leaders lead from where they are. So if a leader is well informed and well aware of mental health and of their own mental health, it's very easy for them to lead and model that, because then they are constantly thinking about it, because they're also constantly thinking about their own mental health. How am I making sure I'm in the right place? You remember those secretaries who would wink at you and tell you, boss is not in a good mood today. Don't talk about that today. You know, so that you're not in check emotionally yourself in a way that people have to modify their behaviors around you. And so when you talk about mental health, it starts from figuring out what is it and what is it not. So that when you talk about incorporating mental health we start about the benefits of the workers. Does the medical cover have mental health option? Are we talking about it? Because to me, mental health is the same as annual checkup.
Right.
You go check your body if it's working well. You take your car to go on maintenance checkup, you know. But how many times do we go for mental checkup? Just going and having a conversation with a mental health specialist or professional. Yeah. And the more we learn to process, the more we make it a common language, that we talk about mental health as something that we openly discuss about it. Because when you talk about mental health, there's rising cases of depression. There's rising cases of things like suicide, especially with the younger, the incoming workforce, who are not, I can say, not from the school of hard knocks that we came from. But of course, we also have our package that school of hard knocks came, being a millennial and growing up in the economic times, it also came with something.
For the younger guys, it's like it has to make sense.
Yes, it has to make sense.
And if life doesn't make sense anymore, they don't feel like being here anymore.
And sometimes that making sense, they're like putting it in a straight-jacket.
Yeah.
Because for me, I think that dots connect better backwards. And things don't have to like be very formed now. If you just give it time and learn to learn, grow and learn, and improve and check in with yourself. Right now, there is even an AI that can help you with therapy and coaching.
Really?
Yes, there is.
Wow.
The more you seek opportunity, you can even have those conversations with AI. And so, of course, there is also a risk of exposure to it's unregulated and everything. But then it starts from there. It starts from making it in the classroom as a common conversation. Not when the child has lost a parent is when you take them to the therapist, or when something grand and big, but we make it as part of our normal living. That if I'm having a challenge, I can speak through with a therapist.
But sometimes it's easier said than done, don't you think? Like with the hassles of life, things are moving so quickly. How do we, in fact, in our own, in our country, it's something that's never been normalized. How then do we normalize it? Because even I would speak for myself. I always say I need a bit of help. I need to talk to somebody. But going about it, it's
hard, because even access to it is also a challenge.
Resources are scarce.
Access to a good therapy is also a challenge. But there are normal mental health practices that will help. How do you decompress? When you feel very pressured, how do you decompress? How in the workplaces have you created decompression? Do you have after lunch? So like in the workplace, do you have after lunch walks? You know, do you have a day in a month where you just do that? So like, for example, I create a peer coaching peer coaching circles. So where people of the same, like across the organization, people in the same space come in together and share and just decompress. And you bring in a coach, make it a safe environment, and then have that conversation.
Right.
Have mentorships.
Yes.
And mentorships are reverse mentorship, so that you're not just talking about the senior mentoring the junior.
Right.
It's also the junior mentoring the senior.
Right.
And the reverse mentorship is just amazing. Because then you, as a leader, you get to know how are the people coming into the workplace? How are they thinking?
Right.
How are they approaching challenges? How are they solving challenges? And you get to learn a lot. And you also get to realize, oh, these senior people also have these challenges.
Right.
You know, they're going through this life. So we cut each other slack, and we're able to create an environment of a word that we are constantly using in my space is psychological safety. How do we create psychological safety in the workplace? That if I tell you that I'm going through this, you don't use it next time. Why I'm not performing is because you're going through this, you know.
Right.
How do we create a psychological safety as managers, as line managers, as teams, that we are able to show up for people? You know, the way we have a culture of fundraising, like something happens and we are in a WhatsApp group fundraising very fast. I wish you can have such a culture of showing up for people when they say they're struggling in something.
Right.
And holding a space of confidentiality, but also, sorry if I'm going into it so much.
You're passionate about it.
I'm passionate about it. It's also realizing, so like we're in a culture of social media, and oversharing in social media is not being emotionally, growing.
Right.
It's mostly opening you up for more of the pressure to come in. It's figuring out who is the right person. It doesn't have to start with a mental health professional. It just starts in the schools. We have peer mentors.
Right.
And peer mentors, we called peer counselors. We call peer counselors.
Right.
These are young people who are trained on the basics. They are elected by their classmates, they are trained, and they are supported.
Right.
So we have peer mentors, peer counselors. If that culture comes up,
right,
then we learn how to hold spaces, how to share. There is that personality that's always gets all the information about all the challenges, because we also are in different personalities.
Right.
But it's understanding your team and knowing who can we make our peer counselor.
Right. It's kind of like the CBC system.
Yes.
Putting them into clusters of who can do what.
It's actually a buddy system.
Right.
And the buddy system works both in schools and at work.
Right.
Even at work.
Which speaks to now words that have come up of late: community, inclusivity. I think we're talking about this during the break.
Yeah.
How then do we foster that in the education system?
So inclusivity is having every type of person feel comfortable and accommodated in the school or in the workplace, so that nobody feels like, oh, I shouldn't be here. Because again, that's one of the key factors that cause, mental health issues.
Right.
Because you're feeling maybe I can't contribute, maybe I'm not good enough, the imposter syndrome that we're hearing about. And as you say, this young generation, they want to prove themselves so quickly. And if they don't get what they want, microwave generation, that's what we used to term them. So anyway, back to inclusivity. So we talked a lot about the differentiated learning.
Right.
Because in a classroom, you're going to find, as you said, people who are learning differently. They are abled differently, whether it's a physical disability, whether it's a learning disability, as we like to call them, or perhaps, as you say, they're different personalities, different temperaments. There are people speaking different languages. There are people who come in from, wealthy or rich backgrounds, others not so well off. All these because we are all different.
Right.
There'll be a race issue if you're going to a school where maybe there's somebody who's white and another one is Asian or another one is black. It's how are we going to make everybody feel part of this classroom? Because I'm going to use the classroom as not even the school, like a classroom with all these different kind of people.
Right.
So how do we break the barriers to make every child feel I can contribute in my different way? Say maybe the rich and not so rich. you're not making the classroom only the people who have money have good ideas, but the people who are coming from a humble background, I don't know why people say humble background, but oh well, that's what we say.
Could have been humble to you, but your parents, they did everything.
It's just the word, like, I don't like associating humility with poverty. So that will be like really moving off track. But I don't think they should. No, they shouldn't go to be rich and be humble as well. But I digress. So a class that has all these different kind of people, how does a teacher? It's a lot of work for a teacher, to be honest.
Right.
To be able to say, and we're talking about kids on the spectrum, you have an autistic child, or you have a child who has, dyslexia, as Janet had mentioned. And then you have another child who is super intelligent. Because, sometimes we focus so much on the slow learners.
Right.
And we forget there are some really intelligent kids who want to learn at a faster rate than these others.
Right.
And you have to cater for them. So if in a perfect world, we would have enough teachers in the classroom to support all of this. But right now we have to work with what we have. So a teacher should be able to pick this up, perhaps by entry exams or entry assessments, and know how to place the learners where they are, cluster them into these groups. Not all the time, because again, they have to interlearn from each other. But in most cases, give more complex work to the really fast ones, and a bit, less complex work to the others.
Right.
Those who are abled differently, again, they may need somebody to actually sit with them, even help them with writing or with reading, because maybe numeracy and literacy is an issue. It's a lot of work, especially in our country where resources are not in plenty. This is what happens in the West, but hopefully we'll get there someday. But ideally, that's what a classroom should look like.
Right. Especially, people don't realize differently able people, they have a different way of thinking. And therefore, even some of the things that we are not able to tackle, it's like that for them. Like even when it comes to computers or robotics, like autistic children, they sometimes are even being employed into workplaces for those who are more advanced in their thinking because of how fast they're able to solve problems. How then do we now in the workplace be able to become more accepting of these different kind of people?
I appreciate that some organizations, but it's mainly the international organizations that are coming in with inclusivity. But they are, and even in the education sector, it's taking momentum. Like there has been a dyslexia conference this month, I think. And there's constantly shining light on inclusivity. And for me, inclusivity is not fitting in, it's belonging.
Right.
It's I am who I am, and I am comfortable in where I am.
Yeah.
And you've given me an environment that I'm able to learn and work. And as a learning specialist, this is very critical to me, because then we talk about learning disabilities in the education system, and we kind of diffuse and imagine it goes away once somebody grows up.
Right.
But then if you have dyslexia all through your life. Yep. So how do we accommodate? And a lot of inclusivity has gone to the physical disability, which is rightfully supposed to be. But we also have to include the learning. I have seen a learner go up to grade 6 and taken back to grade 3 because no one asked, what is the challenge?
Right.
And then we grouped them. A long time ago, we used to group them and say these ones have no ability to learn, but every child can learn, but every child learns differently.
Right.
Every employee can perform, but every employee performs differently. The goal is to make sure we are constantly thinking not in the majority, but holistically.
Right.
So if one in every 10 learners in a school have a learning disability, I like calling them learning difficulties.
Right.
That means the 1 in 10 show up in the workplace. But we don't talk about it mainly, But I really am appreciative of technology, because now with technology, some of the mundane work that are very challenging to maybe a dyslexia or somebody with dyscalculia, they are constantly being taken away, because then you can be able to take minutes by AI, you can include it to a minute, and you can be able to do those accommodating.
Right.
in the workplace, and being constantly aware that my way of doing things might be different from your way of doing things if we focus on the results. So then we become inclusive. We let everybody feel they belong to the table. They are all invited and they're there, and we are all different.
Maybe speaking out of experience, I have to give up to some of these teachers because, you know, there's always an impression about teachers and even employers who might not be so understanding. But even I've had people close to me who have suffered through dyslexia, but, you know, the teacher will correct, but let them move on to the next and the next. They wouldn't hold them back. So shout out to those who are progressive in their thinking in that way. So it comes to now empowering. How do we then empower people to be able to be in that, to think that they're able to lead, even from the education aspect? How do we include the aspect of empowerment?
Again, back to definitions. What is empowerment?
What is empowerment?
What is empowerment? Because I think this is perhaps giving, correct me if I'm wrong, is giving the authority or the power to do something, whether you're the teacher or whether you're the child. But how do you make this person believe that the power is in their hands or in their minds, actually? And that's why I believe education is still the greatest equalizer. I know technology is here. It's competing because technology is really coming up as an equalizer because now everybody can do anything through it. But education is really the foundation. It's the platform. If you have access to a good education, you have access to a good future.
Right.
And I say this because it not only improves your ability to make decisions, your ability to think critically, to analyze options and make decisions that are good for you, that are good for your family, good for your community. And it's really, I don't only say this about academics because people confuse education as academics.
Right.
It's really beyond that. Someone who's, say, has gone to school and has been learning and is faced with a health issue, perhaps obesity, let's talk about it. You'll be able to know, for me to lose this weight, this is the healthy way for me to lose weight. This is an unhealthy way to lose. It may be a shortcut, but it's unhealthy. And these are the long-term, consequences of me doing this. It will help a girl or a mother plan, like reproductive health. You will know about contraception. You will know about how many number of children should you have, can you take care of.
Right.
It will help a man, as you had that school, growing boys into men, know that I can only start a family when I can be able to take care of them. And so they will know what not to do. You'll know about drugs. You'll know about what, it's recreational, but these are so education is not really that, yes, you can read and write, chemistry, biology. Education is holistic.
Right.
Education is about life and life itself. Again, it's about the networks and the connections that you make in the journey of education, because that's how, again, you transition into the workplace.
Right.
Because in university is actually where, and I think most of us would say, is where you met somebody who opened the door for you into your career. Because these career fairs you're seeing, you meet your mentors there. You meet people who can tell you this is what finance is about. And I wish you could do this earlier, not when you're selecting courses to join, so that you get to know what all these careers mean.
Right.
And then you choose what's really well aligned with your skills and your abilities. And again, I come back to CBC and the pathways. I'm not saying they don't have a bit of an issue there, because I feel we're locking kids in a little bit too early when we should open up the spectrum for them to choose. But this is the system we are in. And so what we can do is guide them appropriately to match their talents, their abilities, and their skills to what's coming.
Right.
So that, for me, empowerment is about opening up the mind of somebody to the possibilities.
Right, to the possibilities. How then do we also define it in your own terms? And also, how do we look at empowerment inwardly before we empower others?
Others, yeah. For me, I think I would call empowerment agency. Having agency. And having agency means having a particular drive, to show up, to represent yourself, to be heard, like owning it and not having a chip on your shoulder. And you find a lot of the young people coming into the workplace have a bit of a chip on the shoulder. They feel, I'm a Gen Z, so you're supposed to treat me in a particular way, But an agency is I'm Gen Z, I'm showing up because this is my value. And empowering, especially for leaders, is creating a platform where you let people be and you target on what results is. And that's coaching.
Right.
Because we do a lot of empowerment in coaching. And the biggest encouragement I would tell leaders is do a coaching course. Just take one simple model for coaching, even though it's the simplest, the GROW model. Just have conversations that are coaching conversations. You don't have to be a certified coach. You can have coaching style. And coaching style is the most empowering style because what it is I believe you inherently has the power to deliver. You inherently have the solution to the challenges. You just need to know, first of all, I trust you to deliver this.
Right.
And I'm open to you to come and bounce off thoughts and challenges. Not for me to give you answers, but for me to hold a mirror, to ask questions, to ask, did you look at this? Did you weigh these?
Right.
And let's make failure not very punitive. And I know it's strange, especially coming from our education system, where there was only one answer. And if you mix this chemical reaction, you have to mix this and this to get these results.
Right.
If you have a different one, which can give you the same results, you are wrong. Because they are very prescriptive, And I know with CBC, I don't know how much it's shifting, but let me talk about it for what I'm familiar with. Is the answers were very specific, such that we've not been modeled into thinking widely and exploring different options.
Right.
So agency and empowerment allows you that, and it allows you to fail. And failing is the greatest gift we can give our children in school.
Yes.
We can give people in the workplaces, that as long as you're failing forward, you're failing in a new thing. I'll make a new mistake. I'll make a new mistake doing something new, improving and getting better. And once we allow failure to come and become a learning journey, and failure is not about me, it's about the results, and separating that. And I can go into a whole thing about courage and leaders being able to lead with courage, being able to say, I'm not sure I understand this. What do you think? And taking on a better option and adopting and shining a spotlight on the person who brought it on. You're building agency, you're building people to feel they can. And when you make people feel they can, they become unstoppable. And they're able to deliver for you and to deliver for the ecosystem and the space they are in. And somebody with agency impacts positively. Somebody who is empowered impacts positively wherever they are. And my high school principal, may the Lord rest her soul, used to tell us, sweep that corner that you've been allocated like an A student. Let me
take on every challenge.
Let's see that toilet you're scrubbing. Reflect your leadership.
Although it didn't make sense then, but it makes sense now.
Because you can't be mediocre in one space of life and be excellent in another. Because when you're empowered, it transfers.
Yes. I love the fact that you bring up the aspect of failing. Failing to learn. I think we see it nowadays on social media. We embrace it. How then do we embrace it in the classroom? Especially for the teachers. How do they then use failure as a lesson?
Very good question. So I remember when I was in corporate, making mistakes at some point something was so, as you say, punitive. You make a mistake and it's like you're now on the blacklist, no second options. And we had this conversation with the team and we said, okay, I think the thing here as a leader is where when there's a success, you reflect it to your team. It's a very difficult thing to do. But when there's a mistake, you own it as a leader.
Yes.
You know that rule. Like you can't say, no, it wasn't me. Because you're the leader. When the project has done well, kudos to the team. When there's a mistake, I take the blame. Back to the classroom. So failing, as you said in 844, it was so wrong because it was very exam-centered. It was very, if you get a D, anything below a C+, your life, this is in high school, you're doomed. Like for life is done. Nobody even remembers I was such a good person in drama and music,
Right.
or somebody was very good at whatever, anything else, or football or netball. Just because that one KCSE slip, you're done. But I think the system now is very different. It's very different because it's looking at what everybody is good at. Because you could be a B student, but then when we go to the field, you're the best footballer we've ever seen.
Right.
Or you're the best debater we've ever seen. Or anything else. It doesn't have to be like in the classroom.
Right.
And then what teachers are doing now, because there are still exams. People keep saying there are no exams in CBC. There are exams. And so, are we on the clock? I can sense it.
Sorry.
So-
I remember I'm like
Sorry, I'm reading-
corner of my eye.
I'm reading your facial expressions and I'm like, I don't want to look.
Sorry.
But yeah. So a failure is allowed in the sense that it's experimenting.
Right.
I wouldn't want to call it failure. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say you're allowed to explore and you're allowed to experiment.
Yes.
But you're allowed to say, so I did this, then this happened.
Right.
So can I try again and see what happens next? So it's not really about this is the end. You failed. You got an E. No, we are moving away from that system.
Right.
We're allowing kids to be curious, and curiosity is the best gift you're ever going to give your child.
Yes.
It opens up their minds again, and that
Yes.
ability to again to explore, to look at options,
Yes.
to see which one is the best option. It's not a wrong option, but which one is the best for me in where I am.
Right.
And that's what critical thinking is about.
Yes, because when we were growing up, we were shamed into silence and not allowed to ask questions. Yeah.
Get into a CBC classroom right now, even teachers are overwhelmed.
Right.
Because again, the generation you're teaching is Gen Alpha, and we are not ready.
We are not.
We are not ready. You thought you've seen it all with Gen Z, so
Yes.
you're not ready.
Yes.
You cannot silence these kids.
Yes.
They're going to tell you bad teacher, you will hear bad teacher,
Right.
and you have to be able to allow them to air these opinions. And the best thing is actually to group them so that they tell each other. Because you know
Right.
a lesson is still 40 minutes,
Right.
so you still have to teach something.
Yeah.
But you have to ensure that they are feeling hard, that you're not telling them, no, you now keep quiet.
Yeah.
So it's really a lot about the teacher. And here, my parents were both teachers. So I have a lot of respect for teachers and to
Right.
be able to manage a classroom in that sense. But we have to be able to equip the teachers well. Because if you're going to teach the CBC with an 8-4-4 mentality, we're getting it wrong
Right.
again. And that's still happening. I will not
Right.
lie to you that it's not happening. It is, because we didn't equip the teachers well. But good thing we have a lot of private organizations that have come up, a lot of NGOs coming to fill the gap, to SOMET, things like that. That's a government project.
Right.
Where you're teaching now the CBC aspect. Because you can't take everybody back to P1 teaching college again. You just have to, again, build the plane as it is flying.
Right.
Yeah. And as so
Right.
the system right now is
I
good.
love how you guys break things down. As in, I'm learning as we're talking, because I'm raising Gen Alphas and I am still yet to come to terms with what have I done now? Or why are you asking me to do this, that, or the other? The challenge is there, but it also challenges you to think in a different kind of way. For the leader in training, because that's what I'll call them, the women that are coming up, the leaders in training, and they're watching this, what would you encourage them as they move forward in their thinking and in their way of moving on in life?
Myself?
Yes.
Lead yourself and learn.
Right.
The biggest skill we'll learn is how to learn. If we all start learning how to learn, because I think education system will have to rethink careers critically. Because rather than talk about careers, I like talking to my children about what problems do you want to solve. Because I've seen we've hired an IT person into a HR team.
Right.
Because there is so much intersectionality about careers that we no longer have a defined path.
Right.
And we are continuously learning. If I can be able to learn this skill, that I'm the better person. So I would tell any young person, any young leader who is coming in, lead yourself.
Right.
Cultivate your level of self-awareness. We are shifting from leading by authority, by title.
Right.
And we've been told we are not ready for the Gen Alphas.
Right.
Because they've been given voice. They've been given opinions, and they're opinionated, and they want to air them, and they feel they're valid. as a leader, you have to be ready for that.
Right.
And also, as a young person who is growing up, you also have to think about where do I want to go? And for me, in every coaching session, the goal is the clarity. If you have clarity on the goal, the how comes in. Emotional intelligence is going to be the key of leadership.
Right.
And that is where we are seeing constantly women leaders are becoming more and more, because we are shifting from power and physicality to more emotional intelligence and leading by heart.
Right. I'll ask you to do the same briefly. Just to the leader in training, what would you advise?
It's very similar what she's saying, but if anybody read the Future of Jobs report by the World Economic Forum most recently, it just said careers as we know them will be gone in the next couple of years. And so I think the next leader or the leader is training will be differentiated by thinking across disciplines.
Right.
You cannot say, I am only a teacher, I am only a journalist, or I am only a politician. No.
Right.
You have to be able to connect those things.
Right.
How is teaching connected to journalism, connected to, to politics?
Right.
Because all of them, there's no straight line anymore.
Yes.
And the jobs that we have now will not be here. They'll be gone. So I think, again, and learning to learn is actually one of the competencies of CBC. It's a foundational competence. It's there. Because you need to teach people how to learn the new things. Not just what they're learning now, but as they move and as they grow, and again, how to join those dots.
Right.
So I'd say, think futuristically. Don't be short-sighted. Think long-term. Use tech, because you can be able to, to get like foresight to look at what's coming.
Right.
Look at the demographics, because you can see populations, the way Africa, we're in a really good position. I hope people know that. Like, we're the next, if we're not current big thing, we are the next big thing.
Amen. Yes.
Other guys are aging. We will be needed. So how can you position yourself to be able to be a resource to the world that's coming?
Right.
Yeah.
Ladies, I'd like to thank you so, so much. I wish we had more time, but this has been such an insightful conversation. And I wish you all the best in all your different functions.
Thank you so much.
I hope to host you again.
Thank you for having us.
It right.
Yes.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
It was great to have this conversation.
It was great to share this.
And yourself.
What an insightful and powerful conversation we've just had. And you can watch this episode on Women Per Excellent social platforms. We are on all DSPs, from your Spotify to Apple Music. So look out for it. And remember, you can also watch it and listen to it on Icon Radio KE. That's www.iconradio.co.ke. Once again, huge thank you to our partners, DadaSoko, NiPlug, and PaySoko Systems, as well as Icon Radio. Big shout out to the team behind the scenes as well for the phenomenal work that we have just started. Catch you guys on the next episode.